Devil's Ride, written by Lonzo Jr. 2003. Welcome, kid. Welcome all to story time. Welcome to the horrors of the Devil's Ride. At first glance, there wasn't anything special about it. It looked just like any ordinary motorcycle that one might see on the street. But from the events that were yet to unfold, I was totally wrong about that. I had never ridden a motorcycle in my life. It was the summer of 2003, and I came to town on the invitation of a good friend of mine. We've been buddies since elementary school. You know, doing things that little boys aren't supposed to do, or now that I think about it, maybe they do. Pulling pranks on poor unsuspecting folks, playing hooky from school so we could hang out at the arcade. Man, those were the days. His name was Elston. It's been over 10 years since I've seen him, and seeing him again brought back a flood of memories. I knocked on the door. Elston opened it. He had a nervous look about it, like the world was out to get him. He invited me inside. I asked him what was wrong. He blurted out that he made a deal with the devil, and now he was coming to collect his soul. Puzzled by this revelation, I looked Elston over. He seemed frail, like he hadn't slept in 12 months. After a moment of silence, I asked Elston to explain himself, but instead of telling me, he decided to show me. We ended up in his backyard, and across the yard he pointed to a lonely motorcycle sitting in the corner. "It's cursed," he said. I'm thinking, that bike over there is cursed. Yeah, right. As I approached the bike, it seemed to emit an aura that I couldn't quite place. Other than that, it looked quite ordinary. I had never ridden a motorcycle a day in my life, but there's a first time for everything. And this one seemed to be calling me, so I asked Elston to teach me. He was reluctant. He flat out refused. But ever since we were kids, I always got my way. And before you knew it, we'd rode the motorcycle from the yard into the street. We started the engine. So I learned how to change gears, how to downshift and apply brakes. I'm a fast learner, so I picked it up right away. Once I got used to riding the bike, it was time to try to increase the speed. I went from 20, 30, 40, 50. There's something weird about it. It was as if I blacked out for a moment, but I didn't. I looked around and found myself in an area that I didn't recognize. I put on the brakes. Looking around, the neighborhood didn't look too friendly, and I was worried. None of this made sense. How do I travel back in time? But then it hit me. This motorcycle had the ability to travel through time. Driving over 50 miles an hour triggered some sort of internal mechanism within the bike, which teleported us both to another place. But the worst was yet to come. I decided this neighborhood just wasn't safe. Besides, the denizens of the community were getting curious, and that was my cue to vacate the premises. It seemed easy enough. I accelerated the bike up to 50 miles an hour and swoosh! Its wheels like filled with black metal. When I came to, I ended up in another strange neighborhood. This time I teleported right in the middle of a gang fight. And that's when I realized the true nature of the bike. It needed souls to survive. And the rider was the vehicle and the means to achieve this end. The gang members stopped fighting with each other and turned their attention to me. I tried to take off and accelerate out of there, but the bike wouldn't let me. It's like I was possessed. The next thing that I knew, both gangs from both sides began to fire shots at me, but I wasn't hurt. It's like I was imbued with some sort of protection. I was immortal. The bike began to control the outcome of the battle. appetite for destruction that was not of this world. After what seemed like an eternity, the carnage stopped. And in its wake, 45 gang members lay dead and dismembered. It seemed like forever. A strange and eerie silence permeated the scene, when all of a sudden, spectral lights began to rise from the dead and follow a procession towards the bike. And what I thought was the bike's muffler began to swirl up and down as if it were alive. It began to absorb the souls of the dead, and after the last soul was taken, the bike seemed to expand in size with an eerie glow. And when it had its fill, it allowed me to resume control, but I couldn't move. I dared not. There were no police sirens. The area was strangely desolate. If not for the buildings surrounding me, I would have thought that I was in a desert. The strange thoughts and things to come were racing through my mind. And I had to find a way to get out of there. I had to find a way to get back to where I came from and tell Elston of this experience. He's the only one who would believe me. I accelerated to 50 miles an hour with the same experience but a different outcome was to unfold. I ended up in another neighborhood with tall broken down buildings. And at the far end of the street, a few hoodlums had gathered and were terrorizing the people. My sudden appearance startled everyone, including the hoodlums, who pulled out their guns and began to fire at me. Just then, the bike began to do something that it had never done before. It started to levitate as if on wire, putting us directly in the path of danger. The carnage was a scene out of a horror movie. Its limbs and body parts were flying everywhere. The screams of the dying men was blood-curdling. The sky seemed to glow red with blood. The bike had turned me to kill. It was like some demented pact that the bike and I had made. I do the killing and the bike gets the souls. The innocents were spared from the carnage, but not the hoodlums. The spectral lights reappeared again, and the bike took its fill. I wanted this nightmare to end. Like it was reading my mind. The bike teleported me back to Elston's house. When I came to, I was lying on Elston's couch. He sat next to me saying, "Are you okay? I looked at him for a few minutes, and I told him about everything that had happened. The end.